All right, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bakis, as I said, and I'm so excited to have you on this call. It's our International Women's Mentorship Program Core 2 with Base Planet Foundation at Gallup, Nigeria. And it's our culture to merge mentors and mentee with other young and reputable individuals who are striving in social development space to come share their stories with them and sort of serve as inspiration for our mentors and mentees. Because I mean, how can we support them than this? So we have today Maimuna, Maibe, who is joining us, even with a very busy schedule. She's still able to make it there on this call. I know Maimuna to be a very punctual person, and she joined the call much earlier. So thank you so much, Maimuna, for joining. Before we go into the conversation, I'll just give you a run through on how we've been doing with the mentorship program. So last year, we thought about how can we ensure that young girls are connected with young women and men in higher spaces. You know, we all go online, we see, oh, I like this person, oh, I like this person's work, oh, I want to be like this person. But then there is no connecting room where these people can actually connect with others and learn from them. So we thought that let us bring these guys together, let us match them with highly reputable individuals in different fields that matches their own goal and their aspiration in life. And we started last year with 10 mentees and 5 mentors. It went very well. We had the Honorable Minister for Environment, Barrister Sharon Ikiazo, was one of our special speakers during the last year cohort. And we had amazing young individuals who participated as mentor and mentored 10 young girls. And this year we expanded a little bit. So we now have a male who is one of our mentors. And I like to share this. Someone actually reached out and like, why do we have a man on the list of mentors for this year mentorship program? And I'm like, why can't we? When I mean, there's no big deal in a man mentoring a woman, you know, and that's like the narrative we're trying to change. We understand at the end of the day, we are the whole human and not about man or woman. We're whole human, not about man today. So we have 6 mentors and we have 12 mentees this year, and their age range is between 16 and 26. So I'm just giving you these downloads so that you can understand the people that you're going to be talking to. So while that, I would just like to read Maimuna's profile to everyone so you guys get familiar with her and the work she's doing in Nigeria and across the world. So Maimuna is an environmentalist with triple bottom line operations experience, specializing in waste management and environmental strategy. As a competent and driven professional with work experience across private and public sectors, Maimuna has robust knowledge of community relations, global sustainability strategy and operation, partnership management, and resource recovery. As the country director for Nigeria, she is responsible for global citizens advocacy and campaigning within the Nigerian market. Maimuna has a BSc in Public Health from Coventry University, United Kingdom, MSc in Corporate Environmental Management from the University of Surrey, UK, and a diploma in Waste to Energy Technologies from Queensland University of Technology, Australia. She's also an active member of the Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment, UK, African Roundtable on Sustainable Consumption and Production, and African Renewable Energy Alliance. Yeah, so that's Maimuna. I mean, I know all of this before now, so I'm happy that I know. So that's the amazing guest speaker we have on this call today. You guys should list out all your questions. Maimuna is somebody that is willing to answer and give clarity. And Global Citizen is an organization that I would want every one of us to check out after this call if you have not, and be a part of the movement, take action, even at the comfort of your home, to solve world most pressing issues, you know. So yes, over to you now, Maimuna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Balikis. My internet is very erratic today, so I apologize in advance. Even when you're talking, you're going in and out, so I wasn't sure if it was my internet or your internet. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Can we have some folks maybe on camera if that is possible? If you don't feel comfortable, it's fine. I just would like the session to be very interactive. I also know that you guys want me to come here and talk to you about my journey as a woman in a male-dominated industry before I got into development. That is, development is pretty balanced. I think there are quite a lot of amazing women doing kick-ass stuff in this space. So that's, but the journey has been kind of, thanks Blossom. Blossom is part of my team, so I know she thinks it's a directive, but I mean, you have a choice to go off camera if you want. So yeah, it's been a long journey, but just about, Burkis knows that I don't like talking about myself as much. But I also would like the conversation to be very interactive. So I would like questions, if you have career specific questions, if you're curious about how I attained certain levels in my career, or you have life questions in general. I don't know everything. I'll try as much as possible to answer from my perspective and how certain things have worked in my favor or against me in that sense in my career. But yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of a background about me and how I got started and how I ended up in Global Citizen where I am now. As Belikis has said, my name is Maimuna Maibe. I am an environmentalist at heart and by training at the same time. I started out very curious. I wasn't really into any environmental stuff, but I knew that I wanted to somehow end up in the development space at some point in life or at some point in my career. So that kind of informed the kind of subjects I studied in school. But from a secondary school age, I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I think we're just kind of brainwashed to think that lawyer, doctor, something along those lines is what we should be as individuals and maybe as women as well. So I finished secondary school thinking I was going to be a lawyer, but immediately after that, I just knew I got into university to actually study law. But I dropped out like literally the first week or the first 2 weeks. I had an opportunity to kind of swap. That's when I really was interested in public health type conversations. And I thought it'd be interesting to do a degree there and see where I landed. So I studied public health. And then from there, I developed interests in renewables and environmental sustainability and things like that. And then I decided to do an MSc in corporate environmental management, even though I was interested in the environmental space and the green space. I was also a person that was very curious about how the private sector worked, right? I know a lot of environmental stuff or policy stuff is usually around public sector and the public sector structure, essentially. But I really wanted to see how those conversations, when we're talking about environmental climate action, environmental sustainability, how that translates into the private sector, essentially, right? So I knew that from when I was doing my master's, I wanted to end up in the private sector, but really thinking around, coming from a policy perspective and thinking around from some sort of a sustainability and community development type perspective. How can we incorporate that in the public, private sector that's very structured, essentially, right? But then I was very lucky to come across the master's in corporate environmental management. So you're thinking about environmental management that is really geared and structured towards corporate organizations. So how can corporate organizations become more sustainable? That's where the conversation about the triple bottom line comes in, right? So corporate organizations are structured and are set up to be for-profit organizations, right? So that is their main priority. They have shareholders that are responsible for and all the other different responsibilities that they have. But at the same time, a lot of them are starting to get into this whole social investment as part of their business, whether from just some sort of an employee welfare perspective or just certain investments that private sector at that point were making towards maybe education and health and different kinds of things. But at that point, it was really early, maybe I would say 2015, 2005, 2006. So at that point, the concept of sustainability was out there, but not really from a private sector perspective. So a lot of private sector organizations had people doing CSR, right, essentially, and they're starting to hear about this terminology called sustainability, but a lot of them didn't really know what that meant. They would kind of treated it as just a nomenclature. But so you would see quite a lot of them signing on to like the UN Global Compacts and doing their yearly sustainability reports, right? But a lot of the reports, if you were looking at it, it's a lot of CSR investments, just, you know, they put it in a nice box. We get a consultant, they would come in, sit with your team a bit. They will now at the end of the year write the sustainability report that just really details about your CSR investment. None of them were really looking at making investment to provide that equilibrium that's required, right? So you're making sure that you're making profit as an organization because you're a profit-making entity. You're also making social investments that requires for you to focus on not only the external stakeholders, which are your customers and your immediate community, but you're also looking at your employee welfare. You're looking at some sort of a gender balance within your structure and within your employees as well. And in tandem, you're also thinking about environmental sustainability to be able to balance that, especially if you're in an industry where maybe it's technology heavy or you're required to really watch out or look out for your carbon emissions. So that conversation had started during my master's. I ended up getting an internship to intern with under the director of sustainability at Accenture in the UK. So I was they were the kind of consultants that private sector organizations were hiring to write their sustainability reports. Essentially, there was some organizations that were a lot more serious than just writing a sustainability report that, you know, that looked at only your CSR investments, but a lot of them were starting to thinking about maybe coming up with environmental policies and sustainability policies that can really guide the structure that they have internally and externally. So that's why organizations like PwC and Accenture at that point were really in there helping them structure their sustainability strategies. So I was so lucky early enough in my career to work with this amazing human being that really was the only, at that point, maybe senior director that was championing that cause, helping private sector organizations really structure their sustainability strategies. And I was literally just an analyst working under him. But he was kind enough to take me to these amazing meetings, and I was able to draft these at least early days. He would still try quite a lot of it out, but I learned from it. These sustainability strategies for this Fortune 500 companies and just amazing organizations that I never thought I would even be working on their documentation in any capacity. So in that sense, I know earlier Bilkis was talking about why some people were saying why a male mentor, right? Why not? In my career, I've actually had quite a lot of he for she's in my path for me. Of course, notwithstanding that came with its challenges as well. For most of my career, I think maybe up until 2 years ago, when I joined Global Citizen, I was mainly working in a male-dominated structure or male-dominated industry. So I've come across discrimination or bias every step of my career or every step of the way. But also, I think to balance it out, it would be unfair for me to say that I haven't had great male mentors in my day, or I still have them in my life right now. A lot of them were really championing to see that I followed the path that I was following at that point, because one, they didn't see anybody like me that was really interested in really knowing about this like green economy, and also really wanted to work from the private sector perspective, right? So looking at some sort of a cleaner technology, looking at how can private sector organizations still make money and also look out for the environment and also invest in socially conscious projects or make socially conscious investments. So that was how I started becoming really curious about it and really immersing myself in that. And with that, that's how also in tandem of not just doing strategies for organizations, but I got into waste management as well, because I got on a project that was kind of restructuring the waste management strategy for City of Westminster in the UK. And I got on that project, and that's when really I fell in love with resource recovery and the entire waste management value chain. So that's what I've done, I think, my entire career in different capacities, right? So I've worked in the public sector, where I think I worked for a very long time, about 7 years. But then I was working under the leadership of a governor that really had a vision for resource recovery and waste management and even recycling. So literally from end to end, right? It's a value chain that they were looking at entirely. So even from like implementing the right policies to making sure you're thinking around the right, collection processes, transportation and disposal, and not only disposal, you're not thinking about resource recovery as well. So people are producing this ridiculous amounts of waste every single day. What do you do with it? Taking it somewhere and burying it was not an option, right? That's just does not close the loop completely. So what do you do with that? You start thinking about recycling, you start thinking about waste to energy, all sorts of different things. I found that really, I think, from just looking at something as waste and then looking at it now blossom into a completely new product was absolutely amazing for me. Look, you can just look at the plastic bottle, you can look at a bottle and you can make another bottle from it without wasting any parts of that. And for your organic waste, you can look at food, the remnants or whatever carvings you have from there, that can turn into compost and that can go into somebody's farm and they will use it to grow more crops. It's just, there's nothing that is waste really from what we produce, right? So I think that was kind of how I got really sucked into that space, because there was always something new. It was always very exciting. If it's not a new way of doing things, it's you trying to convince people to even just think about segregating their waste or even just putting their waste in a bag to just keep it neatly in one place, right? To looking at these amazing new technologies that are coming out, that, that converting this waste that we produce into energy, or that recycling bottles, just different things. So I did that for quite a bit, and then into the private sector as well. So I ended up carrying that entire public sector structure that I had and my policy background into private sector. So it was a private company that was in charge of doing the exact same thing. So help structure that and move it along. And now there's the funding to actually really play in this space, right? So public sector was more of a policy and implementation and making sure that you have the right maybe franchisees to come in and implement your vision, because government didn't really have the money to do everything themselves. But transitioning with that energy into the private sector really gave me the opportunity and almost not just the backing, but the budget also to just do amazing things with my career. So with that, I was able to start thinking around like constructing landfill sites, for example, engineered landfill sites where from scratch, you have this land where you can start retrofitting it with the right pipes and the right stuff where it would start kind of capturing the methane to turn it into electricity or energy. So we really got to really play with stuff and concepts that we were not able to play with before because we didn't have the funding. Now it's a private sector organization that are really looking at the funding that goes into the project, but we're also excited enough to be pioneers in that space, as well as wanting to really see that end to end, we're being very productive with the strategy and we deliver on it. And all that, I'm saying that to say, it's lovely for me that I wanted to be in that technical space. And I was there for 10, 12 odd years. But I've always also known that I was going to end up in development. That was always part of my career trajectory. I knew that it could be from maybe private sector, it could be as part of a multilateral organization or some sort of a civic society organization. And then transitioned into the global citizen opportunity came along, and they were just moving into West Africa, and Lagos was going to be the headquarters for the West Africa operations. And they were looking for someone who's really vast in policy, but also someone who really can play both parts, right? So as an organizer, we're an advocacy organization. We really mobilize young people like yourselves. You're between the ages of 16 to 26. That's literally like bang in the middle of our target audience as an organization. So talking to people like you, and the model is just very interesting, and it's something that I've never seen before. So global citizen strategy is pop meets policy, right? A lot of people, the misconception is that, oh, we're this organization that hosts this amazing concert with all these artists. But really and truly, our pop meets policy strategy is because our target audience is very young. They're between the ages of 18 and I believe 35. And there are a lot of conscious young people like yourselves that are very like that, activists that are also into really making sure that some sort of a leadership starts early, and you guys have managed to cultivate it. But there are also quite a lot of people that are not really across the development conversation. So as an organization, we really wanted a strategy that that can really make sure that we have young people's attention, right? So that's where the pop beats comes from. We're a very serious organization with policy, and achieving the SDGs is what we pursue. But also in tandem, we wanted to make sure that how do we make policy more digestible to young people? That's where the pop elements comes to it. And it's also, we're not just working with any random artist or any random musician. The kind of musicians and artists that we actually work with are some that are really want to focus and start building their brand and their social impacts as part of their branding, right? So you could see that a lot of them are comfortable speaking about policy and speaking about development. Those are the kind of artists and talent that we work with in Global Citizen. So I joined Global Citizen, absolutely amazing. And it was just right before the pandemic. I was able to build my entire team virtually. I think maybe it was 6 months to 8 months in that we saw each other physically for the very first time. So it's been absolutely amazing. That was my introduction into like core development work, coming into Global Citizen. And we've been able to do quite a lot with Global Citizen. We've launched in market. We've managed to have some events in market last year. And we have a very robust and involved Global Citizens in Nigeria. They just really, it warms my heart to think that there are quite a lot of young people. I don't think I even thought about activism or thought about anything when I was in university. But based on my engagement with people like Balikis and the rest of them, you guys are already thinking about it from university. You guys are running organizations from university. Like, we've never thought about that. So things are moving very fast. And I'm also really happy that the target audience we have are the right target audience for what we're trying to achieve. So we're trying to mobilize young people to take action towards issues that they care about, right? So the voices, we're like a convening platform, right? The young people are there, we're mobilizing them, we're educating them on the issues with the right facts and figures and numbers on the issues of what is affecting them in their communities. And in tandem, we're not an NGO that really calls out the government in any way, but we actually create these structured ways of making meaningful dialogue with the government, right? So you can see maybe we'll launch an action in Nigeria saying, oh, tweet the Minister of Finance, for example, to make sure that there's a supplementary budget to buy vaccines, for example, right? And in tandem, as we're doing that and getting Global Citizens to really sign up or tweet at this person, we're actually having very productive dialogue and very productive conversations with that person in their office as well. So it never comes at the policymakers or politicians as an attack at all. We have this platform. We really can mobilize these amazing young people. They really care about their development and what you're trying to do in your office as a government official or as a political office holder, right? But also for you to see what they're doing and what can you do to really speak to the issues that these guys are pushing, right? So we're really like the happy medium, essentially. The convening stage, we bring amazing Global Citizens to make sure that their voices are heard and provide that platform. But in tandem, we also work with policymakers and government officials for them to make commitments towards those issues that Global Citizens are talking about. And that's why when we have those concerts, it's not only just musicians coming to perform, right? It is the stage where we have presidents, we have governors, we have big world leaders coming on that stage to say, I commit X amount of money towards education in my country or in my state by so amount of time. So what Global Citizen does essentially is we work with that person's office to make sure that the funds or the policy they commit to, there's follow through in that. And if it's funding, that funding is dispersed over the time period that commitment is supposed to be delivered. And every single year, we actually publish our impact reports that speaks to that. So we're tracking and we're reporting, right, essentially on those commitments. So that is what we do at Global Citizen. And I'm also really excited this year, especially. We've been in operation for 2 years in Nigeria. This is our third year. This year, especially for me, for the Nigerian market, and I know we're going into some sort of an election year next year, and the conversation had already started. Not distracting from that at all, because we have plans towards campaigning towards civic space where young people can really think about nation building and leadership, right? But also in tandem, our strategy this year, as a country office, it's for us to really, we have a strategy called the Activist First Strategy. So we really want to work with grassroots organizations, young individuals that are doing amazing stuff in their communities. And we would really like to use our platform to amplify the work that we're doing. So as Global Citizen, we're not really a grant-giving organization in that sense, but the kind of platform that we provide really would match make you to amazing funders that you never thought you'd be in the room with, right? That is what we provide. So for Nigeria this year, really, we would like to hear from people like you. You guys are, as I said, you're in the middle of our target audience. If you have amazing opportunities, if you have something you're doing, please involve us. We're also going to be providing some sort of a ideation hub for young people and young global citizens in Nigeria. So if you're even somebody that happens to be on this call that hasn't really thought about maybe activism, you don't have to be an activist. As long as you're a young person and we really care about your development and see things better in your community, and you're thinking about, how do I even start thinking about something? Maybe I'm passionate about education or passionate about health, right? How do I get into it? That's the ideation hub that we're trying to provide. So it would be a space where obviously we can't accommodate everyone, right? Based on what the proposal you send or how you reach out to us based on the information that we have, if it's something that directly kind of correlates or connects to our strategy for the year, it could be around adolescent girls, for example, or around equity or systemic barriers when it comes to health and the health systems, or around civic space and youth participation in leadership, for example. You could write to us and really would have a team that sits with you to think through your ideas to see how we can help you cultivate that. And for people like Billikis and other people that are slightly far along, that already have organizations behind them that know what they want to do. So it's all just for us to sit and think through, how can we amplify the work that you're already doing, right? How can we use our platform? How can we support you? How can you really launch a joint action with Global Citizen for us to push out on all our channels and say, oh, it's Girl Up Nigeria, we're partnering with you where we want you to take actions towards X, Y, and Z about adolescent girls or whatever the case might be, right? So that's the kind of platform that we really want to kind of provide this year. But I'm tired of hearing my own voice. So I'll let you guys please ask questions. Billy, please, you can go through the questions. I'm happy to chat further. I know we have 2 minutes, but it's okay. I can go. I have time today. So you guys, if you want to stay, fine with me.
All right. Thank you so much, Maimuna. I mean, I love the way you, as usual, you don't like to talk about yourself too much. Yeah. So I love the way you're able to break down the transition and how you transition from one space to the other with the connecting dot, and how you're developing passion, consistently. Especially, I like the fact that from the onset, you knew you wanted to work in social development space, and then you're working towards it. So not necessarily that you jumped into it right, from the beginning, but you were consistent about your journey. I'm going to take questions now from everyone. Please, if you have questions, if you're shy, you can drop it on the chat box. If you would like, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute your mic. But before then, again, you can check out Global Citizen Fellowship Program. It's currently ongoing, and that's like a huge platform for every one of us to leverage, work closely with Global Citizen, understand how they work, understand how you can also be a global change maker. They sort out all the trainings, facilitations. You can be in Kenya, Nigeria, or South Africa, and they're going to be selected five fellows per country. You can be one of them. So yes, this is just by the way, but you should check out.
Let me just jump in here. So the application had just gone live, I think, early this week, or
yes, early this week.
Last week. So please apply if you're between the age of, I think, 21 to 26. Apply. This year we're going to have, this year going into next year, so it's 2022, 2023 cohorts. We're going to have 5 Nigerians, 5 Kenyans and 5 South Africans. Blossom, who's on this call, is one of our big good fellows, actually, that's been working directly with me, who has done amazing. Our policy fellow, she's absolutely, I'm going to be sad to lose her by June, but I'm also excited to welcome the new cohort. So what happens is it's a typical fellowship program, but the most exciting thing for us with the Be Good partnership, it's that it allows you to actually work full-time in global citizen. It's a paid fellowship. So literally for the year, you're going to be like a global citizen staff essentially. So there's a bit where you get to learn about everything in the beginning, and they do like some sort of a assessment based on your skill and your interest. So that's now with that, they would place you in different departments. So that's how Blossom ended up in policy, working directly with me. And then there's some people that ended up in marketing, some in campaigns, some in editorial. That's how it works. It's a fantastic opportunity. I urge everybody on this call, if you're between the age group, please apply. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
Yes, and another thing I'd like to add is the application is very, very well simplified. So you can apply with a very short article or a video, as little as you can even drop your submission on WhatsApp or email. So it's not the regular fellowship that you have to answer like many questions. So yes, don't be scared. So I would like to have Odun. I saw Odun's hand up. Odun, please unmute your mic and ask your question. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, good afternoon. I joined the call quite late, so I wanted to ask a few questions about global citizen. Actually, a medical student, and I'm trying to tailor my, I want to work more in my career line, and I want to focus on reproductive health. So now I've been looking for ways to actually get to start that, and I don't know if global citizen does something like that, like can help in that line, because we're talking about ideation and all of those. So that's what I wanted to ask.
Thank you so much. So it sounds like you're a medical doctor. That's very niche.
Yes.
But also we work with, there are quite a lot of activists that we work with that are doctors. For example, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Help Mom. It's one of the organizations that we work with directly. So as a global citizen, we're almost like the matchmaker, right? So essentially you can reach out to us with your ideas. If it's something that's completely out of scope for us, we'll let you know. But just reach out to us. You're thinking around, if it's that you want to think more towards a public health thing, or you want to know if there are organizations within our network that are thinking around what you're thinking about, that's something that we can easily make introductions, or we can easily try to find some sort of a working relationship with you and another organization that we could match you up with. But for sure, reach out to us. Let's see if initially, if it's something that's in scope or something that's out of scope, but it doesn't hurt to reach out with your ideas.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Odo. So let's have Sarah. Sarah, can you talk? Can you unmute your mic? Hi, Sarah. Okay, what about Uche? Uche, Deborah, Lucy, who is up to talk? I'd like you guys to share your experience with Maimuna so far with the mentorship program.
So how does the mentorship program work? So do you have mentors that you match make? I know you talked about it in the beginning, I probably missed it. Do you have, so do people kind of volunteer or sign up to become mentors and you match make them with mentees? Or how does it work? Or you have mentees and you reach out to professionals to see if they're interested?
Okay, so we call for application for mentees, and this year we received quite a lot of applications, and we sort the application out and pick 12 people. I mean, we can't select everybody. And then while at that, we scan through to scout for individuals who can mentor them. So we check their profile, the values they're going to add to the young people. Are they people really want to be affiliated or learn from? You know, so we do. So we had about a list of, I think, about 20 mentors, but we ended up with 6 of them. So we reached out via email to all of them, and then the people that accepted, we will work with them. So we now connect them. So we have 2 doctors currently as mentors. So people who are interested in anything related to health or advocacy, whatever, we connect them with those people. People who are interested in education, we connect them with people who are working in that line. So we sort of match them, and then we allow them to do a kind of schedule call with themselves. So the mentors will determine when it's best to talk to you via emails, or they create a WhatsApp group. But we have a closed WhatsApp group for the mentees where we sort of get their feedback and, okay, what is going on. Sometimes their mentor is either not available, maybe they schedule a meeting, so we get to like follow up. So that group is more like a technical room for them to report everything that is going on, and we follow up from there. Yeah.
Okay, great. What's the time requirement for mentors? So how does the structure work? Is it talk once a month, once a week? What is it?
Okay, so the mentorship program is actually coming to an end by 23rd. So it's actually a 3 weeks mentorship program. Yeah, last year it was 2 weeks. Then this year we extended it to 3 weeks because we understand that we do not have the financial resources to buy data, to cater for, even some mentors were even thinking we're doing a physical thing, in Lagos, but we told them that it's virtual. So we let all of them come together, 1 mentor, 2 mentees. How do you guys think this would work? Okay, this is how it works. We'll do once in a week call, assignment, task, and all of that. So it's very flexible, and we don't want it to be too long because, most of the mentees, they are students and sometimes they don't have network or they don't have subscription and all of that. So we want, as much as possible, all of that not to pop up. So we just limited it to 3 weeks. So subsequently, we're open for a longer period for the mentorship.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and then the last cohort, we actually have quite a number of mentees now who have built relationship with their mentors. So they talk, you see them everywhere on social media, they always give.
That's what I was kind of getting at. Is there longevity in after the time frame?
Yes. But it totally depends on them. We can't control that exactly. So we've seen quite a number of them that they're not in connection again, and then we've seen quite a number of them who are actively working together. Yes. So
okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, so I see Sarah wants to speak. Sarah, please.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Sarah Kojenu, and I am a co-mentee. My mentor's name is Mr. Charles. So, so far so good. It has been wonderful. It's been a wonderful experience, seriously. My mentor has been very lenient, and he has really sacrificed a lot for myself and Zainab in terms of time. So what he does is that he tells us to pick a time and a date. Then he tries to fix his schedule to fit to the time and date we fixed. So the first meeting we held, we met with each other. We got to know each other better, and we got to know what we like, and just to familiarize ourselves to get the best out of this mentorship program. So he gave us a task to write our SWOT analysis. That was our strengths, our weaknesses, and opportunities we could find in our respective fields. Then he also told us to list 2 platforms we could get updates and relevant articles on our field. Then the third assignment was to list 2 people in our field to look up to that we could easily reach out to. So the second meeting we had, we shared the Google documents with him. Okay, it was a Google Doc, so he read it and then he made it interactive. So we noticed that my weaknesses was Zainab's strengths, while my own strengths were Zainab's weaknesses. So he then told us to, okay, after listing them, so one of my weaknesses and one of my strengths is communicating and networking. So he then told me that he asked how I do it, how I go by it. So I told Zainab, I explained everything. I told her that it was even how I network in events can even be, okay, please, can you lend me your pen? Can you please lend me your pen? It can lead to other things. And I tried to study them. Then Zainab told me, she explained how she is creative, how she tries to form some stuffs. And I really learned a lot from that. So he then told us that we should reach out to the people in our fields that we've mentioned. We should reach out to them, that we should create a relationship, a cordial relationship with them, so they can put us through some things and even lead to an advancement in our careers. So then the articles, he told us to read 2 articles, then we summarize it, then we send him the link, so he will go through it to find out if we have really done justice to the summary. So yes, 2 days ago we had our third meeting, and our third meeting was centered around, okay, he sent 2 opportunities to myself and Zainab. So he told us to check it out. Then when we checked it out, he asked us in the meeting that he sent some opportunities to us, that what do we feel about it. So Zainab, she feels the second one is better for her because of the age range and what she's aspiring to achieve. So then my turn was, I told him that, okay, there was one European development, something. I can't really get it. So I told him that I would prefer applying for the EDD application because it has one of my career plans, my career goals in it, which is climate change. So he said that is good, that one of the goals of the mentorship is to make us professionals, that we should not just jump at any opportunity we see. We should always analyze them and make sure it suits our career plans. So aside that, he also gave us, so he asked us, we spoke, then he asked us what do we want to achieve during this mentorship. And then we found out that I and Zainab had like 2 things in common, which is how to write applications and how to get visible, then how the social space entirely. So from there, we listed out some objectives we'll be achieving for the next periods we'll be meeting. So that's just it.
Yeah.
Great, thanks, Sarah. That sounds like a very productive
I hope I didn't talk too much.
relationship. No, you didn't.
I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, you didn't. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, you didn't. I really wanted to have an insight into how the structure and the program works. And that has given me a very comprehensive overview of the mentor-mentee relationship. And then I'm really happy to hear that your mentor is really hands-on with you lot and you're learning quite a lot from the experience. Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Please, I'd like to get back to work.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Okay, so we have quite a number of mentees that, I don't know, maybe they are shy. So most of them, they only listen. And then when we get back to our WhatsApp group, they say, oh, Maimuna said this. Oh, she said this.
So it's fine. So Baliki, what you should even do is that if they have questions, right, just collate those and reach out to me.
Sure.
Both of them would be happy to coordinate from my end.
All right, sure.
Let's see. So if it's another conversation that is required.
Yeah.
I know that I'm swamped, but I'll try my best to prioritize it and see if we can have those conversations. I'm always willing to help. I'm always willing to see young women, especially, and just, some of us have gone through it so that others don't have to, right? Yeah. So I'm always willing to help. Timing is always an issue, but let's see, there's nothing we can't work around. So
yes, definitely we're gonna have you, what we're thinking of. So we had Miss Olaide from USAID last week. Yeah, so we're looking at having the two of you on the closing ceremony, which is on the 24th or 23rd. I'm not sure of the date yet, but that we can definitely have the two of you, come together. The mentors and mentees are going to be definitely available. So most of the time, the call, dates clashes with the mentor's schedule at work and all of that. So they get to watch the recording on our YouTube. So I'll get Elizabeth now to speak on some of the challenges that we're facing or we've faced and how we're overcoming them with the mentorship program. Elizabeth, please.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everybody.
Very well, yes, good afternoon.
Okay. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm the Communications Officer for Gallup Nigeria. Thank you, Ms. Maimuna, for coming to share your story with us and encourage these young girls so that they can be able to make informed decisions in their career path. So far, the journey has not been all rosy, but it has been awesome. It has been amazing. The conversation, like Baliki said in the WhatsApp group with these young mentees, has been awesome. We've even been able to create a kind of relationship. Aside from the relationship they have with their mentors, they've been able to also create relationship amongst themselves, be able to network amongst themselves as mentees. So, so far, one of the problems that challenges I'll just use challenges that we've faced, what we've had during the course of this program is, we had quite a number of people who applied for the mentorship program, and there were a lot of young people, a lot of young women with good statements of purpose, with good visions, with good ideas, but because of funding, we could not be able to pick more people. But when you go through their applications, you could see that they have something in them that they want to share. They have something in them that they want to showcase. They have something in them that they want to nurture. So one of the problems that we have is the capacity to add or have more people on the mentorship program. And one of the challenges we've had so far. Another challenge we've had during the course of this mentorship program is being able to coordinate. Most of the mentees are actually students. Sometimes they will be like out of data and out of subscription to be able to, and since it's not a physical event, it's mostly online, data subscription is a lot for them. We understand that it's actually a lot of problem for them. So we're looking at partnering next year. Hopefully we are going to have more mentees and more mentors on the Gallup Nigeria mentorship program. So we're looking at partnering with organizations who want to also nurture these people, who want to see these young girls make impact in their career. So we look forward to working with Global Citizens for our cohort 3 next year. Thank you, Maimuna. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Elizabeth, for highlighting that. Two things I kind of jotted down when you were talking. So one, what is your current, either you or Bilkis can answer this, what is your current fundraising model that you have? How are you fundraising, and what are you've had challenges, so you can speak to some of that. And also, have you thought about some sort of a data partnership with a telco to provide free data for mentees and the cohort?
Okay, so maybe I'll just jump in there. So I don't know. So most of the time, Base Planet Foundation fund Gallup Nigeria's activities, like the Zoom. We use Premium Zoom. That's like one of it, and Base Planet Foundation bears that cost. And we've not really done any fundraising for Gallup Nigeria, and the reason is very intentional. When I started Gallup Nigeria in 2020 during the pandemic, I took it upon myself to build Gallup Nigeria first before we now start reaching out to people and saying we want this, because I understand the reputation that comes with this is what we have done, then this is what we want to do. So that is what we've been doing over time. And we're looking at adding this year, sort of to the list. And we currently have our Campus Ambassador program. That is like another big program for us. And that program is looking at young students across institutions. So both Polytechnic, College of Education, university students in Nigeria, we bring them together to replicate our activities in their community campus and also upskilling them. So we've been trying so sort of hard, but we had over 100 applicants for that. Yes, for that campus ambassador program. But now we've not even selected them because we're trying to ensure that things are put in place, especially in supporting their growth and their skills. So we're looking at partnering with the likes of Google, Microsoft, MTN to come in and say, okay, we're going to provide these skills, these tools for these people. So it's easy for us to say, okay, we want you guys to carry out this project in your school, in your community where your school is located. So it's not like we're taking from them, we're also giving them something back. So we've just been at that corner now, and we're open to sort of expand, because even Base Planners Foundation, we try as much as possible because there's a connecting dots between the organization and Gallup Nigeria. So most of the time, we don't even lead some of the project ourselves. We fund Gallup Nigeria to say, okay, let's do it. Like the mentorship program now is in collaboration with Base Planet, but we fund whatever is needed, to make sure that the activity comes into life and we don't duplicate effort at the end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, proof of concept is always the most important thing, right? So if you go to any partner or any possible sponsor, the first thing they would ask you is, what have you done? Where's the track record? Like, where's the impact? So I like the fact that you guys are starting small. And also I like the fact that you're very wary about taking on too many people that you can't manage or you don't have the funds to support. So that is a good way of starting it. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. There are quite a lot of people out there that need this support, even if it's just providing the community via WhatsApp, just people venting and sharing ideas and becoming friends and helping each other out. I mean, it sounds cliche when we always say that your network is your net worth, but that is just like, that's how I live my life. It's all about friends and the kind of people that are around you. Now I'm in a space where my friends and I, or my network and I, are able to like refer people for jobs and things like that, just from cultivating those relationships, right? And especially locally for us here, referrals are very important. A lot of people, if I referred somebody for a job recently, and literally that person got a leg up other candidates because they were coming from me and because I have a good relationship with the hiring manager, for example. So those things are very important. I feel like you're providing a safe space and a community for young people to really learn through experienced people or experienced mentors, essentially, but also even just amongst themselves. I like the fact that you guys have a WhatsApp group, for example. I know quite a lot of people are very shy or something and they didn't want to ask me any questions, but I know that there'll be a lot of chatter in the WhatsApp group. Oh my gosh. It happens to all of us. I mean, I do that with my other colleagues, with other bigger people. So that happens all the time. But keeping those conversations going, I think, are very important. There's a question in here.
Yes. So
ask me, I said I work in a male-dominated field. Yeah. I don't know if you could share how you overcame the biases you faced. Oh, wow. I didn't want to bore you guys. I was trying to avoid the whole breaking the bias conversation that you've been hearing all month long, essentially for International Women's Day. So my entire career, I worked in, apart from the last 2 years, that's when I even started to seemingly experience some sort of a gender balance in the workplace or along the way. I've always worked in a male-dominated space, but also, as I said earlier, I've had so many he for she's. Those are men that are really interested in gender equity or gender equality and wanting to see female employees or colleagues do very well. So they would support you. There's no bias there. So even though in one hand, I had that at a very high level, maybe with bosses that I work with, working with colleagues and other men around you, it's a completely different experience. There's spaces, especially working in waste management, where there's 95% men. And you're thinking, you're dealing with trucks, you're dealing with technology, you're dealing with infrastructure, facility. I can walk into a recycling facility, for example, and would never see a woman, ever. But in Nigeria and abroad, actually, it's not a job that most women do, right? It's not really, I don't even say it doesn't appeal to us, but it's just nothing that women got into. And quite a lot of the times, it's either I walk into a room, maybe it's either everybody just automatically assumes I'm somebody's assistant. One, okay, where's your boss? Is your boss coming? Like, no, I'm taking the meeting. And a lot, you see men very uncomfortably like starting to adjust and be like, oh, she's actually the person, and tones would change. And then even though deep down, that respect they would not want to give, but almost they're forced to give it because you're the one that literally is holding the check, essentially, in some cases, right? So that is in one. And in another space, it would just be like, just because you're a woman, people just don't take you seriously in a room, right? So for one, being assertive, my thing is show up, get involved, and don't be afraid to take up space, right? So that taking up space for men, it looks like it's very threatening. Me sitting down around the table to tell them, this is what I want to say, this is how I feel, this is how I think certain things should be done. It's almost all the time perceived as being emotional, or you're just overly reiterating yourself because you're the only woman there, so you want to be heard. But really, you have to do that for them to hear you, essentially. So with me, I think I've always been so fortunate that I've always had self-confidence. I've always just known what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. So there's going to be hurdles along the way. There's going to be barriers to these things. There's going to be biases. But really having that vision, I find it harder when you haven't really articulated, or you haven't really thought about what you want to do in a structured manner. It works for some, by the way, just winging it, anything goes, right? But for me, I'm very principled and I'm very structured. I know what I want to do by 2020, whatever, 5 years down the line. This is 2022, but by 2025, 26, I really, from a career perspective, I know where I want to go and what I want to do, right? Having such vision, it might not always happen the same way you visualize it, but thinking about what you want to do and how you want to get there, it's always very important. And I'm never the loudest person in the room, by the way. And it's just doing things respectfully. But respectfully does not mean you should belittle yourself. And just because you're a woman doesn't mean you're a woman in management or in a position of leadership. Doesn't mean you should walk into a room that men are sitting there, you start shouting and screaming and putting them down. That's exactly what they've done to us. That is not our strategy as women. It should not be our approach to doing anything. You should be assertive. You should pull your shoulders back, stand tall in high heels or not, and speak the way you want to speak. Respect everybody in the room, but be assertive enough that you're a woman, but you can stand toe to toe and shoulder to shoulder with any man in that room. I've never been rude or disrespectful towards any man in my career. Unless, there's certain situations we're not perfect by any means, but there's certain situations that everybody drops the ball. But there's nobody in the history of my career, and I've worked for over 15 years. Yeah, you can ask a colleague that's male, or they will tell you Maimuna is rude, she's aggressive, she's this, she's that. There's no one, and I challenge anybody to go out there and ask. And that doesn't mean they would not tell you I'm not smart and I don't know what I'm doing either. You just have to find the right balance. And some of us are not as confident as others. And some of us, certain things get to us. Just because I said I'm very self-aware and I'm confident doesn't mean the next woman is. You just have to find, it's important to have female mentors that have really done well in their own little space and niche. It doesn't mean that there are amazing women out there that are not on social media, that are not personal branding out there that you don't know about, that are really kicking ass in their little corners and their little lanes. I probably fall somewhere in the middle of that. I'm one of those people that I feel like, okay, I want to be known for my work and what I do. So I'm not too out there like that. But I also know that I'm really good at what I do at the end of the day, but without really putting anybody down, male or female. I think that's having that structure and really having mentors really helped me navigate whatever biases that I came across in my career. Elizabeth, your hand is up.
Okay, I have a question, and I would like to ask my question. I've been working in the development space for a while, I think since 2015. So I would want to ask you, what are the challenges you've had in your journey, because you've had a longer experience than I have. So I want to ask, what are the challenges you've had and how you've been able to surmount them. For me, some days I wake up and I'm like, why am I still doing this? Is this what I really want to do? So some days I feel like, oh, I want to just, okay, drop this and move on. I know it's a challenge for me. So I want to be able to find out how you were able to, because I know that in your career and you've had this kind of feeling where you say, oh, am I doing the right thing? Am I really doing this? Is this what I should be doing? I want to know how you've been able to navigate through it all. Thank you.
Sure. I mean, I've done that constantly in my career, and I still do it every now and then. I wake up feeling like I want to quit today. It happens, and it is okay to think that way. There's certain frustrations that you face at work, but in terms of development, I think what I always grapple with working in the development space, because our model is very high level fundraising, right? So, for example, we raise funds on the global scale. And also, so for me, who's coming from a background where I'm used to implementation and I'm used to dispersing funds, and I can see the tangible changes and the impact that I'm making, right? So I can just fund a project in a school or something. I can see the kids learning, I can measure impact and report it, and I see that I'm changing lives immediately in my community. So with Global Citizen, what I find really difficult is with this high level fundraising, it is almost like the UN essentially. It's hard for us, we can't now to be very transparent with that. We can't peg certain funds. For example, there's certain tables that have been around that has raised millions of dollars. But guess what? They can't say, oh, maybe now you take $5 million to Nigeria to go and implement. It doesn't work like that. So that's what I grapple with most of the time, right? We're fundraising at this high scale, but I feel like maybe locally, I'm not really seeing the impacts that we should make. But then that's just the nature of how our structure works. But from an advocacy perspective, absolutely amazing. And from some sort of a working from a global company perspective as well. So we strategize on a global level and how that translates in the world, right? Essentially on all the 17 SDGs essentially. But also now sometimes having to really localize those policies might be challenging. And that doesn't mean the team and I don't know what we're doing, but also we really work hard in wanting to make sure that we socialize those policies, right? So for example, we have a completely new mission as an organization, and we're going to be launching our new policy and campaign direction for 2022, I think in about 2 weeks, on the 29th of March. So it's going to be we're coming out of the pandemic, right? Our ethos as an organization is the end of extreme poverty by 2030. But we feel like it should be articulated in a lot more urgency, right? Not just putting that deadline of 2030. It still sounds very far to some people. So people feel like we still have time. Let's not make the changes until we're closer to 2030. So as an organization, we're changing our mission. I wouldn't say it now because we're launching on the 23rd, but our new mission really emphasizes the urgency of achieving the SDGs. We can't wait till 2030, right? Let's think about how do we achieve that now? So with that, if we're to achieve that now, what are the policy objectives, or which SDGs we feel like are that need the immediate intervention, right? To be able to end extreme poverty now. So those are the kind of things that we've highlighted from our global white paper that we're launching in 2 weeks. But with that, also the challenge now comes, let's say one of them is breaking systemic barriers, right? So systemic barriers can speak to, the pandemic has exposed our healthcare systems and the lack of it really. How do we make sure that we're prepared just in case something happens next time, right? How do we make sure that there's some sort of a strengthening the healthcare system and stuff like that? But with that, what does that mean in the Nigerian sense? We're talking vaccine, but now everybody's walking around as if there's no pandemic anymore, right? And people are very vaccine hesitant. But really, in the true nature of that strategy, from a global perspective, they're talking about vaccine equity and all that stuff. It's great. That is still topical for us in Nigeria. But in Nigeria, if we really want to focus on the systemic barriers, for example, we should be talking about strengthening our primary healthcare system. We should be talking about making sure that in the different local governments and the different wards, they're functioning primary healthcare facilities that the woman with the child can go to, and she can get her immunization, like see a doctor with no issues and just walk away. Those are the kind of things that from a Nigeria concept in terms of building the infrastructure and the system that we need to focus on, not just, so if we have the structure and we have the system, trust me, we won't have issues with vaccine equity. It'll be available for everybody because we have facilities functioning all over the place. So those are the kind of things that I think that's difficult for me in development. Our challenges here, how do I, globally, we have this amazing strategy and amazing layout, but how do I localize it to make it make sense for Nigeria? So what I've even done is that launching the white paper on the 29th, we have the global strategy. I'm going to get subject matter experts that can speak to each chapter of the white paper, for example. So as I said, breaking systemic barriers, what does it really mean in the Nigerian sense? Empowering girls, what does it really mean in the Nigerian sense? Climate action, what does it mean for the typical Nigerian when you talk about climate action without talking fancy words and fancy terminology, right? So that is how I've struggled, but I think finally we're finding that niche on how we really want to communicate our structure and our strategy locally. But yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. Those are the things that I kind of that challenge me every now and then and keep me up at night.
Okay, thank you so much, Maimuna. I mean, it's been a long conversation, an hour, 5 minutes, and we're projecting 30 minutes. So thank you so much, Maimuna, for always honoring our invite. And we look forward to further partnership with Global Citizen, especially now that you guys are in Nigeria. I mean, it's easier. And we hope to have you during the closing ceremony. I'll have the team send an email by tomorrow on that, because we're putting an end to the mentorship next week so that everybody can, oh, there's no emails, have you checked your email and all of that. So thank you so much, Maimuna, for your time. We appreciate it so much. And if you guys don't mind, can we put on our video so that we can take a selfie with Maimuna? I mean, Maimuna is a celebrity, so let's catch that now.
I'm not sure I'm much of a celebrity, but thank you.
All right, let's go, guys. Let's unmute. Let's unmute our mic, our video. Let's unmute our video. Let's unmute our video. Let's unmute our video. Let's unmute our video. Okay. Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone, for joining the call. I wish you a good evening and see you all next week during the closing ceremony. Thank you, Maimuna, and thank you, Blossom, for being an amazing intermediary. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
And you too. Bye.
All right. Bye.